Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Histories in Miniatures video, where today I'm going to be talking about Zulu the movie and its historical inaccuracies. Now, before I start, don't get upset. I love the movie. It is an amazing movie, and it was the movie that inspired me to learn about the Zulu War, to learn about British colonialism, which is a bad thing, to learn about the Boer War, to learn about history. Zulu, this movie, is kind of that kernel in, I think I was about 6 at the time, that little 6-year-old nugget that has grown into an enthusiasm that I have maintained my entire life and will continue to maintain. So I love Zulu. I've got plenty of books about the Zulu War. I've got 3 shelves in my living room where I can dedicate to miniatures. 2 of them are about Rorke drift. They're Rorke drift dioramas, because obviously, why do something once when you can do it twice? Yeah, I'm a strange human being. So I love the movie. I love the movie a great deal, but I also love the history. And this is just talking about the history of where the movie kind of made some quite big mistakes with relation to real life. Again, this isn't, I understand why Hollywood would make these choices, I understand what was done, and it is a genuinely fantastic movie. But so is the history of Rorke drift. So let's spend a little moment talking about the history of Rorke drift. Aren't you excited? Historical inaccuracy the first. It starts off with kind of Wit and Keshwayo, wedding, and they're all sort of friendly, a big mass wedding. In reality, Reverend Wit did not like Keshwayo. He welcomed the British invasion, he encouraged the British invasion. Equally, he'd sent his family away, there was no sexy daughter. And just kind of leading on to that, there was actually another Reverend there called Reverend Smith. He stayed and handed out ammunition and encouraged support for the real soldiers at Rorke drift. Reverend Wit heard the Zulus were coming and was like, I need to leave and go be with my family, like. So he wasn't this crazy drunkard, he was a Swedish fellow, I think. But yeah, he wasn't at all like I was portrayed in the movie. Leading on to that, inaccuracy the second. Chard and Bromhead, the 2 lieutenants in the movie, there was actually a Major Spalding in charge of the defence of Rorke drift. When he found out that the Zulus were on their way, he was like, "You stay here, men. Chard, you're a couple of years senior, I believe. You take charge, and I'll go get some reinforcements." And again, the real life, can you imagine in the movie, like Chard and Bromhead, like looking at each other, Michael Caine with that face, that sexy face.
Now, don't tell me. I suppose you have seniority.
You also have Adendorf, the Boer there. He kind of explains tactics, and he's kind of an interesting character. The real Adendorf was actually at the Battle of Isandlwana, and he was the only survivor who fled, who's decided to stay and fight at Rorke drift. He also talked about Zulu tactics, and he's sort of explaining the buffalo horns and the way the Zulus would envelop and go round, which was a very famous tactic, and they did use that at Isandlwana. Rorke drift, it was kind of more of a piecemeal frontal attack. It kind of came in, hit hard, got rebuffed, aimed for the hospital a bit. The tactics kind of seemed like the Zulus had a game plan. You see the elders on the hill counting the guns, and didn't really happen. The Zulus kind of silently advanced and silently tried to take the barricades, and even the British survivors of the battle say they're amazed that the Zulus didn't think at any point to stab the sandbags and let it out and destroy these barricades. Interesting history tidbit, mistake movie, the next one. In the movie you have Chard and Bromhead, and they're sort of talking about how we should stay and defend or attack, and in reality Chard and Bromhead both were along the lines of we should evacuate, because there's no way we're going to stop anything really. There's 140 of us, you know, we're a supply depot. What are we doing? There's loads of them. This is a giant defeat. Oh my god, run. It was actually acting assistant commissary Dalton, James Langley Dalton, who said, "No, let's play into their hands, let's build up a nice big defence." Dalton never gets that credit, and Dalton deserves that credit. Another kind of minor tidbit as well, Colour Sergeant Bourne, chops. He was like the youngest, shortest man. He was like 24 years old at the time. Equally interesting side bit. He lived for ages. There's like recordings of his scripts from early World War II times, floating around the internet. I think he ended his career as a colonel as well, so he was the longest surviving member of Rorke's Drift, and also the highest ranking. Not really historical inaccuracy beyond the fact that they make an old man play him.
Colour Sergeant Vaughan!
Historic inaccuracy, the next one, you see in the movie some cavalry turn up and they're like, the Zulus are coming, and Stevenson was actually an officer in charge of the native infantry at the time. It wasn't a horseman. The actual cavalry unit that arrived was kind of an offshoot of Durnford's unit. And they actually stayed around a bit and they were actually thrown out as a screen. But when the Zulus arrived, they were so low on ammunition and morale, they just kind of fled, which is understandable. And that retreat and that exit kind of thing encouraged the native contingent in Rorke's Drift to leave alongside them, as well as 2 British officers, one of which was shot in the back by the defenders at Rorke's Drift just out of sheer frustration that their only allies are leaving. British officers, people who are meant to know, people like Chard and Bromhead, that are held in a great deal of high esteem, and rightly so. They're high esteem because they deserved it and they earned it. There can be British officers who didn't.
The men are the hospital loopholes. Sir? They have nothing to fire at. Bring them to the front windows. Support the north wall.
Sir.
Colour Sergeant.
Sir.
I want half your men. Now.
Even number, sir.
Form 2 lines on the double.
Probably, again, as I've said, all these historic inaccuracies aren't really a big deal because the movie is excellent, and I get why a movie is a movie. One that does kind of rankle a little bit, annoy, frustrate. Hook, Private Hook in the movie is depicted as a malingerer and a scoundrel and a drunk. The man himself was actually a very honourable human being, a very good soldier, and a teetotaler. I don't like that, for a start. And equally, the family, when they watched the movie, his family, they were very upset by the betrayal of their ancestor, and they did complain. Make a fictional soldier. Make a fictional soldier. Call him something completely different to anyone who was there, and he can just be the soldier that was there who doesn't upset anyone. You didn't need to name him after someone who was genuinely a very valuable and honourable human being. Interesting historical accuracy, the next one, however, which is a very, very minor one as well. The movie kind of really downplays the attacks in the night, and you just see them all tired and shooting in the dark and the fire. Actually, that was where quite a lot of fierce attacks were being made. The kind of last major ones were about 2 AM in the morning, and the final kind of shots petered out at about 4 AM. After that, there were no more attacks. There was no glorious second day where everyone's exhausted, and there was none of that amazing last stand kind of thing. That night was the last of it kind of thing for the battle. Another inaccuracy that is quite funny, but that doesn't... I can get why they did it, but in the movie, it's mostly portrayed as a Welsh company protecting this place with a few British and a few officers. They've got a few foreigners in here, mind. In 1879, it was not the South Wales Borderers, the 24th Regiment of Foot, the regiment in the movie, the company, the regiment the company's from. It's the 2nd Warwickshire. They're mostly English. I think they had a 15% Welsh contingent. I think it was British. You had English, Welsh, Irish, Scottish in that company. It was not a Welsh company. There was actually a reform in 1881 that made them the South Wales Borderers, but that came just after Rorke's Drift, not just before. So where they're all at the sandbags and the Zulus are singing and the men are singing Men of Harlech, and it's stunning. It's stunning. It is good cinema. The men defending at Rorke's Drift in real life would have had no clue what that song is, or at least most of them would have had no clue. A minor, super minor thing, but just quite funny. This one again is it's not massive, but it is the last kind of thing, really. At the end of the movie, there's a roll call and there's lots of misnames. There's also, they play up a lot of the death in the whole movie. A lot of getting stabbed with the assegai kind of spears going in and bayonets and stuff. Most of the movie, the casualties happen through firepower. Equally, the British lost 17 men out of 140, which is shockingly small. The Zulus, the estimates range, but it's seen as low estimate 500, high estimate 700 or 800. And again, in the movie, they're rolling up all the bodies. You don't see the bit where the British are executing any injured, but it did happen. But yeah, in reality, 17 men died defending Rorke's Drift, and 500 to 800 men died attacking it.